friend told me a story once. He heard some commotion going on in the backyard, and he ran out back, and he noticed that there's this coyote doing circles, donuts, and where he was at really fast, and he had something attached to the side of his head, and you noticed that this was his little dog. That he had a little rat terrier mixed with a Chihuahua, and it resembled the Chihuahua side more. And this Chihuahua had found the coyote because the coyote was in the barnyard after the chickens, and he had ran after that coyote, bit the coyote in the side of the head, and was hanging on for dear life. And that coyote couldn't figure out how to get the dog unattached from the side of his face. He was going in circles, hoping that he would fling the off. Now I can't imagine what that coyote what was going on in his mind. My buddy grabbed the first thing he could get, which was a broomstick that was really soft and wasn't good for beating coyotes, but he ran out of the situation and he grabbed a hold of the first thing he could get. He caught his dog by the back leg, his little dog, and was pulling on his dog while he was beating the coyote with the broomstick. Now that is a crazy situation. As soon as the coyote shook loose of the dog, the coyote turned tail and ran off into the forest. Of course, when he let his little dog down, the dog took off after the coyote, is wanting to get him again. I think we can take something away from this situation. The courage of, number one, the dog. This little dog didn't have the muscle of the coyote, wasn't as fast as the coyote, but he ran to the situation that needed addressed because the coyote was preying on the defenseless chickens, and he knew that he needed to protect these chickens, and the dog lit into the coyote. Now, we need to know how to do that, know how to recognize the situation when we need to be there, when we need to jump into a situation and protect folks, and do that, not concerning if we're going to be able to, or if the scaredness that we might have. We need to be courageous and do that anyway. And there's a second thing that I think we can take from this little story, is that we need to be courageous like the dog's owner, like my buddy. He knows better than to jump in a dog fight, but he knew his dog was in trouble, so he grabbed a broomstick and ran up there and just helped his dog out. And I think we need to do that too. When you see a fellow believer, a Christian, who is in a battle and he's struggling, maybe sharing his faith, or maybe he's got some other situation going on where God has asked him to do something, but he's struggling with it, we need to jump right in there and help a brother out or a sister out. I think what happens when we do that? What happens when we take a step in faith and be courageous? Well, the devil prowls around like that coyote, wanting to prey on the defenseless folks, like the chickens, the folks who are naive, that they don't know God and don't have a relationship with God maybe. Just like the coyote did after he had been worked over, the devil, he knows he ain't got a chance because God is the ultimate authority. So when we address him with God on our side, through God's authority, he turns tail and runs. In the Old Testament scripture, God tells Joshua to be strong and courageous. Joshua goes up against all kinds of armies when God tells him to, against all odds, and defeats the armies, so he's able to take over the land. God told him to be strong and courageous. David, we know how courageous he was. He went up against a giant of a soldier, and David wasn't even a soldier himself, yet he did what God told him to do. And of course we know the story. He defeated Goliath, and he told his son later on, his son Solomon, David told him this. He says, "Take courage, Solomon, and be a man." You know, we couldn't hear that from a better source than coming from David, the man who, when he was a boy, stepped into a situation and took charge. Right after he told Solomon to take courage and be a man, he told him this. He said, here's how. Observe the requirements of God and follow God's ways, and do what he has told you already through Scripture, and do what he will tell you to do. And those are 3 points that we need to keep close in our lives. Job, when he was struggling with all kinds of things, he had a couple of friends trying to tell him what to do. And although they didn't give very good advice, one of the things one of the friends told him was to be hopeful, and this will give you courage. And I think what we can take from that is we need to remind ourselves of the hope that we have, that God has already won this battle for us, so we can fight on His behalf and know that victory is ours. That can give us courage. People fear a lot of things. We fear running out of money, running out of supplies. We fear that maybe we won't say the right thing to a friend or when we're talking in front of people. We fear growing old. There's a lot of things we fear. And we should have a healthy fear of God, but sometimes we have an unhealthy fear of God. We're scared of God because we don't know what He's gonna do to us. And when Jesus, when He had His disciples were on a boat in the middle of the water and the storm came up, and they were scared that their ship was going to get torn apart and they were going to drown. And so Jesus starts walking towards them on the water, as the story goes, and they seen Jesus and they were scared of Jesus. They thought Jesus was a ghost, and they were scared. This is this unhealthy fear of God because they didn't know what was going to happen. Jesus right then told them, "Don't be afraid, take courage." He was instilling a sense of courageousness among His disciples because He needed them to be strong and to take courage. One of my favorite verses is 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 13. It says, "Be on guard, stand firm in the faith, be courageous, be strong." Folks, I want to encourage you to be courageous, to have courage, to take on right now whatever it is in your life or whatever it is in this country's life that will stand in the way of building God's kingdom. Be strong, stand firm, and take courage. Stand firm in the faith. Now, you get the rest of the message on Sunday morning. If you would like to come to our church, we're having drive-in church. Otherwise, watch on Facebook or follow us on our brand new YouTube channel. You can search it, Colony Christian Church on YouTube.